Welcome to a video from digital-lifestyle.com. This video I'm going to do something a little bit different. I've created lots of sound sets based on existing sounds from Genesis, Pink Floyd, Kraftwerk and Vangelis. And I thought I'd actually create some of these sounds, or at least one of these sounds, on the fly for you to see how I do it. So I've already done a video a bit like this, but with a Genesis X1000's mono synth, where I've actually got the mono synth in front of me, which was nice and easy to do because you can see the parameters and you can copy them over and then adjust it by ear. For this one, I wanted to do one like I did for Genesis, Pink Floyd and others, where I had to just listen to the record to do it, and this is Yazoo Don't Go, and I want to recreate that brass sound. I want to create that brass sound on the Modwave. So I've got the Modwave up here and I've got the initial performance, so I can have a listen to that. So the way that I usually do this is just first of all listen to the sound, and straight away I can hear it's kind of a brassy sound, a little bit dirty with shortest envelope. So I also know that I also have a feeling that this was done with a ARP 2600, which is a mono synth, and it's got 3 oscillators that you can use on there. So that kind of gives me a hint, but certainly I can hear a brass sound with a bit of detuning. But there's also an octave lower, I think, there. So I think there's probably a third oscillator with an octave lower. Now on the 2600, the ARP 2600, it had 3 different waveforms, and you could choose. You could buy the patch and you could choose which waveform, but I think they're all sawtooth waveform because it sounds like a brass sound, doesn't it? A synth brass sound. So that's what I'm going to aim to start off with. So if I go to the synthesis section on here, we've got 2 oscillators per voice. So if we're going to use that third one, we'll have to use layer B as well. So the Modwave has 2 oscillators per layer, so we're going to use 2 and a bit, I think. I think we could probably get away with 2, but it wouldn't give quite that rich sound. But what we'll do, we'll try with the single one first, then I'll add the other one in the lower, and if I think it needs it, I'll add an extra one with a bit of detuning. So, the initial side. I think actually a sawtooth wave is fine for that. That's brass. That brass sound is going to be fine. So I'm going to have to first get the envelope, and I can hear the sound and I can hear the envelope is affecting the filter really. So my guess is, rather than using the amp, if I use the amp envelope, and I just made the amp envelope shorter to give it that sort of more percussive sound, that's not really going to do what we want it to do. So I think it's more about the filter, and in fact my guess is that the amp is open with a bit of release, and then the rest of it is done with the filter. So we've got a couple of options on the filter. The Poly 6 filter is a nice warm filter. That sounds a bit more aggressive, I think, the 2600. So it could be a 2-pole or a 4-pole. So I'm going to try it with the low pass, the MS-20 low pass filter, because that's a bit more aggressive. And I'm going to use the envelope. So I'm going to turn down the filter a bit, quite a bit, and then use the envelope quite high on that. And to me, it sounds like it's got a bit of like a trumpet would have. It's got that initial attack, but it's not straight on. There's a bit of a delay on it. So I'm going to try that. And I think that's still, we need to. So that's closer now. So I think that envelope is probably okay. The waveform is a bit dirty, so we could try. I think the sound sounds a little bit more dirty than that, but that could be just the low oscillator. So leave that for now. Also, I'm going to pitch this up an octave as well. And then on oscillator 2, I'm going to have that the same waveform, but I'm going to take it down an octave. And I think it's a bit quieter as well. still sounds I think it needs that third oscillator. So what I'm going to do, since I've got the envelopes and everything else that I want done, I'm going to save this layer. Let's give it a collection. Right, I've saved that layer now, so I'm going to come to layer B, activate layer B, load that layer. Drop the sub, or the lower oscillator. Oh, let's tune this down as well. So let's get it closer. I'm just going to listen to it again though, because I just still don't think that's exactly it. So what I'm going to do now, I need to refine it a bit more. I'm going to go just back to layer. I'm going to make layer B actually the lower octave one. I'm going to leave the tuning slightly down, and also make it lower octave. Go back to layer A. So I'm going to make that lower one. So I'll go back to oscillator 1, and I'm going to have these on the same octave, and then I can do the tuning on them. Let's get it better. That's what I was hearing. Perhaps it's the two that are quite a bit tuned apart. These two, there's different ways that you can do it. I usually go one low, one high, and sometimes one in the middle. So that's a bit. I think that's a bit closer now, but I think that filter envelope's not quite right. Let's turn layer B off as well. That's getting closer now, isn't it? So that's sounding a bit better now. So if I bring back the layer B with the octave lower, I need to set it there, octave lower. That's more like it, but now I need to reduce that layer because it's quite low in my ears. Let's have another listen. It's a bit lower. I still don't think those envelopes are quite as sharp, are they? So maybe bring that down slightly. Go back to the other layer. Bring that down slightly. Actually, listen to it now. I think that should be an octave lower. Okay, so I've done this dry so far. I find it a lot easier to do it dry, but the effects do make a bit of a difference. So we'll need to look at some effects. Okay, so I think that's pretty close now. Now we could look at some effects on here now. So it comes to effects now. I've put the compression on them. I don't think there's any delay. There's probably a bit of master reverb, and that's it really. So maybe we can apply a little bit of reverb, and we'll send the same amounts, but it only needs to be a little bit. That's probably about it then. So I think that's a bit closer now. I'm not quite sure those envelopes. I'm 100% happy with the envelopes. I'm just going to try it with a 2-pole low pass. Okay, yeah, I think it does make a difference. We'll go for the 2-pole low pass filter because I can hear that's a bit brighter, and on layer B, I shall also do the same. So that's my first attempt. I don't think I've quite got the grit on that one. I think I still need to work on the envelopes. Maybe I just need to play back with those on it. There's no EQ on there either, but I think that's a bit closer. That's as close. I don't want to get it for now. It's actually quite a nice lead sound. The way to probably to get it is to just fiddle out the envelopes and that detune that I've used on the two layer on layer A, that detuning. That is the key to getting it right. So maybe I should play around with it. But that is a bit on the process and how I go about creating sounds by ear. It's just a question of listening to the sound, trying to figure out what waveform they're using, if it's an analog subtractive synth, so if it's a square wave, a pulse wave, or a sawtooth. It also has a bit of detective work to go with it. I think I'm pretty sure this is a 2600 and I can't envisage how that works. If I was doing Vangelis, I know it probably was a CS80. Maybe if I was doing Duran Duran, they're using a Jupiter 4 or something like that. So that really helps because you can then put yourself in that sort of mindset of how those synths are laid out when you're doing the programming. If you've got the synth, it's great, but that's how I do it for ear. So I think I'm going to do another one of these where I actually create some sounds using a virtual, or from a virtual synth and copying it over. So like a classic, I think I'll use the Poly 6 and I'll recreate a Poly 6 sound on Modwave. I'll make this patch available. I'm going to save this and put it on the digitalifestyle.com so you can download it. Maybe you can tweak it and get it better. Let me know. Let me know in the comments. Send me the patch and I can have a listen. So thanks for watching this video. Please like, subscribe and all that. And I'll see you in the next one.